And you can feel free to stop me or put your question in the chat box, and I'll be happy to go through it. So I don't want it to be like I'm just talking. I want it to be as interactive as possible. So legal knowledge for businesses. Essentially, what we're going to be talking about are issues that businesses need to understand, especially small business owners, what you need to understand so that you can thrive very well and not have issues with various regulatory authorities or with your founders or with your stakeholders or with your customers. And in giving you this presentation, I will be relying a lot on anecdotes, simply meaning personal cases I've been involved in regarding business transactions, disputes amongst business owners. So if I talk too fast, I like to talk too fast at times. If I talk too fast, please feel free to stop me, and I would adjust my position. So in the paper, we're going to be talking about business formation. We're going to be talking about regulatory compliance. We're going to be talking about protection of intellectual property assets. We're going to be talking about data privacy and data protection obligations. We're also going to be talking about anti-money laundering awareness, and the reason why I've chosen these 5 broad topics is that no matter the kind of business we decide to set up, we usually come across issues pertaining to these areas. And if I just focus on business formation and regulatory compliance alone, I will be doing a great disservice to the young business owners on this call. So that's why I put in intellectual property, data privacy, and anti-money laundering. So the first one is business formation. When it comes to formation of a business, there are various factors that determines what kind of business a person wants to set up. So yes, you can be a founder, you want to set up a business, and the kind of business you want to set up will determine what kind of entity you need to be looking at. So what are these issues that affect the kind of business that we want to set up? Number one, you need to say, okay, what kind of business do you want to do? If what you want to set up is an art gallery, or you want to set up a school, or you want to set up a chamber of commerce, of course, you cannot set up a limited company. So that kind of nature of your business that you want to do will determine the kind of business you need to set up. So if your business is an education business, then as a rule, education business cannot be set up using a limited company because it's not to make profit. And as an education business, you are not supposed to pay certain taxes to the government. But if you make the mistake of registering an education business as a limited company, then you'll be liable to paying company income tax. There was a case in Abuja recently where the government asked the school to pay the tax, and school said, no, under the tax law, I'm not supposed to pay taxes and all that. But the tax authority said, no, you're a limited company. And when they went to court, the court held that the fact that you are registered as a limited company simply means that you must pay your tax. If you knew that you didn't want to pay taxes at a school, you shouldn't have registered as a limited company. So what this simply shows us is that the entity you choose usually has a very significant implication. Another issue you look at is your amount of capital available. If the money you have to set up your business, you have like 300 million to set up your business, you are looking at bringing in foreign investors later in life or thereabouts, it will not be ideal for you to set up a business name because you are going to have shares in the company. You are looking at bringing in business partners. When your business partners want to give you funds, part of what they're going to be looking at is getting equity in your business. If you have a business name, it won't be easy for you to be talking about equity and all that, So amount of capital available is also very important. And the number of members to form the business is also very important. If you want to form a large business and you are looking at about 55 of you and your friends, 55 of you want to set up a company and you want it to be a unicorn and all that. You can't be talking about forming a private company because you already have more than 50 members. So you're going to be looking at a public company. So numbers of the people who want to form the company is also important. If you're also only one, you also look at the kind of company you need to form. You also look at the extent and sphere of operations of the company. Do you want to form the company locally? Do you want it to be a local entity that will only be operating in Lagos State? Or you want to be operating all over Nigeria? Or you want to be operating internationally? If you want to operate internationally and nationally, it might be best for you to look at having a company limited by shares, a private company limited by shares. You can't say you want to do international and you are registering a business name. It will be difficult for international players to take you very seriously, because by the time they start asking you for your KYC, for your necessary documentation, you might not be able to comply with the level of documentation they might require from you. Another issue you need to look at when you're thinking about what kind of business setup should I be looking at is the issue of the position of the law and statutory requirements. What do I mean by this aspect? There are certain laws that tell you what you need to do before you can set up a company. For example, they will say if you want to set up an engineering company, you must have someone who is registered with Cohort. If you want to set up a medical institute or a medical hospital, or you want to set up a pharmacy, you must have somebody who went to medical school, who has this certificate and all that. You must have a company that has 10 million shares, 5 million shares. So there are position of law that governs certain area. So before you decide on what kind of entity you want to use for your business, number one, you must be sure of the laws governing that business. Because if you are not sure of it, by the time you register the business, if you are able to scale through, when you start operations, you can be shut down, or they can bring a fine against you for flouting the laws. And of course, there are also post-registration compliance and regulatory supervision. If you want to set up a company that you don't want to be making so many returns, filing returns to CAC and all that, you have to be very careful. There are some companies that once you set up, some government agencies will start harassing you for some reports, bring this, bring that. So if you know that you don't have the bandwidth or you don't have the resources to comply with the regulatory requirements of filing relevant documents as at when due, then you must also take that into consideration in determining the kind of company you want to form. Because it's not just okay for you to say, oh, let me just rush and go and set up a company, 1 million share capital. I want to have a limited company. It comes with responsibilities. So those are some of the issues we'll need to look at. And the next slide here, I'm talking about categories of business organizations in Nigeria. We have different categories of businesses. We have the sole proprietorship. We have the partnership. We have registered companies. We have registered companies, and we also have limited liability partnership. And under the Companies and Other Matters Act, any business owner that wants to set up a company whose goal is to make profit, there are various models under the CAMA that you can use to set up your company. And under CAMA, we have I'm still going to go there in my slide, but I just want to mention them. You have private companies limited by shares. You have business name. You have public companies limited by shares. You also have companies limited by guarantee. And you have unlimited companies. So when we talk about business names, if you're talking about sole proprietorship, partnership, those are examples of business. They fall under business names. So if we say the Nest Enterprises, that's a business name. If you say Sundry Agro Shopping Enterprises, that's a business name. Kudura Innovations Ventures, that's a business name. A business name doesn't have limited at the end of the name. And many businesses in Nigeria and all over the world always prefer business names because, small businesses run the economy all over the world. SMEs is usually the engine room of any economy. And why people prefer the business name, especially in Nigeria, is that they are easy to set up. They are ideal for the formation of small or informal businesses. We have so many small-scale traders, small-scale businesses who only operate within a state or within a local government. So it's easy for them. And when you have a business name, you fly under the radar. You are below the radar, regulatory radar. So when you have all these regulatory agencies coming to disturb companies to file these, present returns on various aspects, for business names, they often don't go to them, And there's also flexibility in decision making. Most business names is usually sole proprietorship. Even if it's a partnership, it's usually nothing very formal or very strict, because you don't need to have a board of directors where you go and take meetings or go to general meeting for approvals and all that. So there's usually flexibility in decision making. If you want to do anything, you want to take a loan from a bank, you can decide on your bed on your bedroom easily that, you know what, this is the direction of this business. So it's usually flexible. People like that. Then it's also ideal for founders looking to quickly test business ideas. You know, in this era of setting up businesses, there's something they call iteration. When you start your business, it's not the idea you start that might eventually scale. You start a business, you tweak it, you adjust, you listen to feedback. Eventually, you have a better product, you know. So if you want to test your ideas, it's usually good to use business names, because if the idea doesn't work out, you don't suffer any significant losses. And of course, there are no corporate personality involved when you talk about business names. And what do I mean by this? I'm still going to go there when I'm talking about limited companies. The business name, if you have Sundry Agro Ventures as your business name, if we say it doesn't have a corporate personality, what that simply means is that if anybody sues corporate Sundry Agro company enterprises in court, and they get a judgment against the company, if they want to enforce the judgment against the company, even if the company does not have the funds for the transaction, they can easily go against the person who owns the company. They can come after the owner of the company. So there's no corporate personality. But assuming it's a limited company that has a corporate personality, assuming it's Sundry Agro Limited, nobody can go after the founder of the company, Eyitayo. If the company has any issues, you go after the Sundry Agro Allied Limited. So the assets Eyitayo owns is different from the assets Sundry Agro Allied Venture Limited owns. So corporate personality means that there is a Chinese wall between the business entity and the individual entity. So if you have a business name, Mr. Sanusi, please, can you okay. So if you have the corporate personality, then you can't suffer that challenge, you know. So another aspect of business name is that the owner bears all losses and tax liability. So when you are running a business name, you are the alpha and omega. When there's a windfall, you are the one who's going to be enjoying. And when there's any liability, everything falls on your desk and you have to resolve it. The other aspect is private companies limited by shares. And these sort of companies, why people prefer this company is that, number one, it provides corporate personality and limited liability. I've explained that in the previous slide. If you have a corporate personality, nobody can go after the directors or the shareholders of the company. They can only go after the shareholders or directors of the company if they've committed a fraud, or if they are using the company as a venture, as a scheme to defraud members of the public or to commit any sort of fraud. And there's also a reduced regulatory oversight. Although the regulatory oversight over private company limited by shares is significantly higher than business name, the regulatory oversight is also significantly lower than public limited companies. And private company limited by shares can also be run by a single shareholder. The recently amended Company and Allied Matters Act allows for single shareholder companies. So if you have a one-man company who wants to run a business, you can also do that. Then it's also ideal for founders who are looking to flexibly develop businesses in pre-seed or post-seed funding stage. You know, we have so many companies in Nigeria who are getting funding from angel investors all over the world. And most of all these companies, one of the things they have in common is that they are all private company limited by shares. And as a rule that we must all be aware of, if an angel investor is going to bring in funds into your company, one of the things they ask for is they want to have a seat on the board, and they also want to have a piece of the cake, a pie in your company, meaning they want to have shares in your company. So people who are looking to bring in investors or bring in potential partners in the future usually like this sort of arrangement. Then there are also some tax exemption benefits for a private limited company, because whenever the government wants to give tax benefits, exemption benefits, they ask for various sort of documentation and all that. And in most cases, it usually favors companies limited by shares. The other aspect is the public company limited by shares. Public company also provides for corporate personality. And unlike a private company, the maximum number of members for a private company is 50 members. But for a public company, you can be above 50 members. And a public company allows you to raise equity funding from members of the public. A private company, you can't do that. You can also list a public company on the stock exchange. And a public company is ideal for founders who are looking for debt-free capital or who are considering IPO. One of the downside of a public company is there is extensive regulatory oversight, and that's not out of place. If you're collecting money for members of the public, then you must be willing to subject yourself to scrutiny from the relevant regulatory organizations. So having talked about the various form of business formation that we have in Nigeria, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of my presentation, I talked about company limited, unlimited companies and companies limited by guarantee. Companies limited by guarantee is not on this slide, but I just want to mention it so that in case we have anyone who is interested in that. Companies limited by guarantees are companies that are formed for the promotion of an objective that's not profit-oriented. So let's say you want to, for the promotion of arts, for commerce, for science, for religion, for technology, for culture, you know, like, for example, like a Nikkei Arts Gallery now. It would be good if it's not registered as a limited company. If it's registered as a company limited by guarantee, it means that whatever money you make from it, you put it back in the business to promote the objective of the company. And you have some benefits in terms of taxes and all that. And they don't share profit. They don't distribute profit for companies limited by guarantee. And of course, as a school too, you can have a company limited by guarantee. And of course, in setting up all these companies, a foreigner is also allowed to set up a company in Nigeria. You can set up your company using foreigners as your partners. But if you're going to do that, that comes with various forms of regulatory oversight contained in various laws like the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission Act, the Immigration Act, the Foreign Exchange Act, Industrial Inspectorate Act, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotions Act, and the Nigeria Data Protection Act. So the next part of my slide now is dispute management among shareholders. We've talked about the various forms of companies, and it's inevitable when you set up a company, when you have a company, it's inevitable that parties will have disputes amongst themselves, either shareholders, amongst the shareholders, the founders of the company, their business partners, their suppliers, their clients, their customers, you know. So if you're thinking of setting up a business, you should also be thinking of disputes will arise. You should always be thinking that disputes will arise. So when you're setting up a company, even if you're setting up the company with your business partner, even if it's your wife, your best friend, your pastor, your imam, your parents, it's always advisable to have an agreement, a business agreement. If it's a limited company, I always advise you have a shareholders with your co-founder, a shareholders agreement with your co-founders. If it's a business with your wife as well, you must also have an agreement with your spouse. And this is important because I've seen several disputes among spouses. Nobody prays for divorce, but we see all these things happen. Nobody prays that you have an issue with your parents or with your friend. You know, I mean, all of us are aware of a bank MD whose father and children are in court over the estate, you know. So you must have agreements saying what happens in your business. And part of an issue you should consider when you're having agreements with your business partners are the type of dispute resolution mechanisms you should use. We have negotiation, we have mediation, we have arbitration. Though everybody talks about, I'm going to see you, we are going to be in court, let's meet in court, let's this court. That's not usually advisable because for businesses, courts usually affect your shareholder price. They affect your, if they say this company is in court now, they are fighting amongst themselves, your partners will not want to come and do business with you. Your investors will not want to come and do business with you. Even the angel investors, when they Google your name and they see that you've been in court with your partner, they won't want to come and invest because they don't want anybody to come and give them any stress. So we always advise that you have an alternative dispute resolution clause in your agreement. What does this simply mean? It means that whenever you have disputes, instead of going to court, you resolve it in a private manner. And 3 private manners of resolving is negotiation, mediation, arbitration. Negotiation is when both parties sit down together, discuss the issues among themselves, and resolve it. Mediation is when you get a neutral third party to encourage the parties to resolve the dispute amongst themselves. So a mediator cannot compel the parties to resolve the dispute. It can only encourage or facilitate. But the interesting thing about mediation is that it's not in all mediation that you can resolve your dispute. So it's possible that you go to mediation and you can't resolve because there's no judge, there's nobody that will give you a decision. They will only encourage you guys to settle. So if mediation fails, then you can go to arbitration. Arbitration is where the parties appoint someone who will act as a judge to listen to their dispute. And the advantage of arbitration is that the parties can determine who they want to appoint to resolve the dispute for them. So you have the capacity or the opportunity to appoint someone who is very experienced in the field and very respected. And the beauty of arbitration is that whatever you decide is private, unlike the court where anybody can go to the court and apply for a copy of the court process. If they Google your name, they will see that somebody filed a case against you in court. For arbitration, is always largely private. And of course, I don't have to tell you about litigation, even though that's what I love to do. That's everybody does. Everybody knows what litigation is all about. So we'll skip that. Can I confirm, please? Am I talking too fast? Are you guys following? Because I feel like I'm just talking to myself. The next, can anyone just confirm that they are following what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are following.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. Brilliant. So, I told you earlier that I'm going to be talking about personal experience. So I don't want to just tell you theory and not give you real life experience on what's happening. So the next slide that we have now is shareholders dispute. I'm currently working on a shareholders dispute. And when I say currently working on, let me use Nigerian slang as it is hot. That's what it, as in the matter is so, the matter is ongoing, is a live issue, and I'm still working on it at the moment. And I'll tell you what happened. The company is a very big company. I'm not going to mention their name for obvious reasons. In a sector, I didn't want to mention the sector. I put the sector there earlier, but I deleted it because I know if I put the sector there, you guys can easily know the company I'm talking about. And this company, they had like 4 founders. They are doing very, very well. They are a multinational company. They have a parent company in Europe, and they are doing so well in Nigeria. But one of the founders died 2 years ago. And when the founder died, he owns 25% shares in the company. And he had a shareholders agreement with his other founders. He was a director in the company. And the agreement says that if any of their directors dies, their benefit goes to their beneficiaries. Who are your beneficiaries? If a man dies, your wife and your children. But since this man died, his business partners are not telling the family anything. They are only giving them money. They will say they want to give them dividend. They want to give them this. They want to give them that. But they didn't tell them to appoint anybody to the board. They are not carrying them along in taking decisions in the company. They are just acting as if they don't exist and just giving them pittance. So now we are on the verge of fighting the battle. I hope we don't get to court. But they have a shareholders agreement. But the company thought that maybe the wife wouldn't know that they had a shareholders agreement. So when we reach out to them asking for board appointment, they told us that their articles of association does not say anything about directorship of the company. Does not say anything about the shareholder being a director of the company. So we are still on it. We are discussing. We hope that we'll be able to resolve it. But this is an issue that arose between partners who were very close friends, And this kind of company, it won't be good for them to go to court. If the media hears that they are in court, it will affect the value of the company, it will affect their businesses, and partners will run away from them. So it's very, 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 very important. But like I said in this slide, the dispute resolution clause between the parties have an arbitration clause. And I said earlier that I hope we don't get to court. There are instances where even with arbitration clause, if you want an emergency relief, you must quickly go to court first before you go back to arbitration. And there are different tactics we use in litigation. Don't let me give you guys those tactics here, since that's not the purpose of this discussion. I want to tell you another story about another case that we worked on. It's still ongoing. We've concluded it in a way, but there's an aspect that is still ongoing. This is a fintech company. It's one of the big fintech companies in Nigeria. They also have 3 founders, 3 co-founders. They have a parent company in the US. But they had an issue with one of their partners. They found out that he set up a company to be competing with them. So they terminated his agreement with the company. They took over his shares and all those things. And he filed 2 lawsuits against the company. And this company was about to go into a fundraising. They've done a round, maybe Series A round some years ago. So they want to do the next round, fundraising round. And this is a very major company, So because of that, when this other guy filed 2 lawsuits against them, when we came in, we had to step in and say, we have to resolve this matter. Because if we keep fighting, the company will not be able to raise the funds they want to raise. So there's no point chasing rats when the elephant is walking away. So we just say, you know what, let's allow the rats to go and let's focus on the elephant. So at times you have to be forward thinking in your dispute resolution approach. You have to know when to fight. You have to know when to discuss. You have to know when to appeal. You have to know when to cajole. And you have to know when to use force as well,
Oh, sir, I can no longer hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So the next aspect of our slide is regulatory compliance. What does regulatory compliance mean? After a business commences operations, there are obligations that you must fulfill under the law. You have to file your annual returns to CAC. You have to file your VAT compliance. You have to, all those things you need to do. That's what's called regulatory compliance. And regulatory compliance is becoming a very, very big sector in Nigeria now, because various regulatory agencies are chasing up on companies, issuing fines. Just last week, I was in Abuja, and I got to hear that FRCN, Financial Reporting Council, levied a fine of 250 million naira on Airtel. Agencies are issuing fines. Data Protection Commission is issuing fines, so you have to be compliant regardless of the sector of business you are in. Go and find out, what does the law say I should do, and do them. And some people think that regulatory compliance is just about ticking the boxes, just do this. No, it must become a culture. It must become a habit, because whenever you want to get investors, they will ask for all those documents. And you will look like an unserious company if you don't comply with regulatory compliance requirements. We advised a client recently who wanted to buy an asset management company. And during our due diligence, when we sent our questions to the company, asking for several documents, minutes of meeting, minutes of board meeting, we asked for this, asked for that. The company had almost next to nothing of all those information. So it was very clear. If you are thinking of selling your company for 700 million naira, when you get to due diligence stage and they start saying, come and show your workings, excuse me, and you can't produce any document, then your price will be discounted significantly. So if you know that you are planning your company for the future, when you're running a company, you're not running the company for now. Keep your records, have your documents. If you want to have a business partner in 7 years and you told them you spent 200 million naira in the past, if you cannot show your workings, you cannot show documents and all that, nobody's going to believe your story. If an investor wants to come in, or somebody wants to come and acquire your company with globalization taking place now, we have a lot of opportunities in Nigeria. Even in the legal industry, foreign law firms are coming to Nigeria. They are collaborating with Nigerian lawyers. They are setting up their law firms in Nigeria by proxy. They are doing business in various kind of surreptitious manner in Nigeria across all industries. So no matter, I am not scared of globalization, because I know that it is difficult for an Israeli to come to Nigeria and operate the way a Nigerian will operate. So what they typically do is they will look for a Nigerian who has a structure, and they will either acquire or work with them. But before they acquire or work with you, they will do your due diligence. And in doing their due diligence, they will ask you, have you paid your tax? Have you been paying your NSITF regularly? Have you paid employee compensation? Have you paid this? Have you done this? Have you done that? If you've not done it, oh, they will say, sorry, although we like your profile, we like your Instagram post, we like all your deck that you have done for us, but we can't do business with you because you don't have this document, you don't have this document, you don't have this document, you don't have this document. So let's be proactive. If there is nothing you are going to take away from this presentation today, take away this point I'm giving you. Let's be proactive in complying with regulatory and statutory issues. Yes, it can be expensive, it can be cumbersome, but the long-term benefit is usually very good. The peace of mind you have is usually very good. FIRS, LIRS, when you see their letters, you don't have anxiety. You are calm because you know that you have been doing what you need to do, you know. And what are the major compliance obligations? You must file your annual returns with CAC, monthly contribution to NSITF, employee compensation scheme, pension remittances for your staff, annual contribution to the industrial training fund. If you have expatriates, you must file your expatriate quota with the Nigerian Immigration Service, compliance with corporate governance code. Sorry, please, can you just give me 1 minute? I want to just make a call for them to bring a drink for me. My throat is a bit dry. 1 second, please. Hello? Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Then we also have the corporate governance codes, compliance with corporate governance codes, but that's not mandatory for private companies. But even though this corporate governance code is not mandatory for private companies, it's always good for companies to look at the governance code and try and implement some of the system. If you have a company, you are starting your business, and you just make you and your wife director, and your firstborn that is just 8 years old, shareholders rather, it doesn't speak well. Anybody who wants to do business with you is not good enough. So ensure that your board has respectable individuals, someone you respect, someone that when people see the person's name, because if you have a respectable individual on your board, it will also guide you in doing the right thing. When you want to take major decisions, they will advise you, and you can't just do anyhow. But if it's just you and your wife, you will be doing anyhow, and nobody will respect your company on the long run. And you cannot really attract quality funding, you know. So it's better you plan ahead, have quality individuals, and have your board meetings. You can have your board meetings virtually. And when you have your board meetings, record them. Get someone to do your minutes of meetings. Save it so that in the future, you can always share those things. Another major compliance issue is SCUMUL, Special Control Units Against Money Laundering. You have to register with them, and they are under EFCC. It might sound like a small issue, but it's a big deal, especially if you are in a non-designated financial institution. You are into real estate, so many companies, hotel, restaurants, you know, you have to register with them. And they monitor people's accounts. I have to tell you that they monitor accounts. So if you have certain kind of inflow that comes into your account, they can invite you to EFCC at any point in time. We've done a case before that one of our clients was invited to EFCC. And when we got there, they flagged his account that he received over 200 million in his account on a particular day from someone they were investigating. And they asked him that, what was this money for? And the client said, we sold the property to him. And the EFCC said, go and bring your documents that you used to sell the property. But the client said, when I sold the property several years ago, I don't usually collect documents back when I sell because I've sold. They said, then you will stay with us in prison because that's money laundering. But eventually, we were able to get the documents because even the person that paid was avoiding our clients. Their lawyers were avoiding our clients. But eventually, we were able to check our records and we're able to get one of the transaction documents. And the EFCC told him that, assuming we didn't see these documents, you will have spent the weekend with us because it was a Friday and we'll have charged you to court on Monday. So if anybody is going to make payments into your account, make sure you have a paper trail to justify the fund. So don't just do WhatsApp call with somebody and say, oh, okay, I'm going to do this one for you. Okay, send 70 million to my account. Okay, when you send the 70 million, then I will send it to you. I will order for the thing in America and I will send the vehicle to you or something. WhatsApp call that is not recorded, that is not documented, you are going to be in serious trouble. So even if you have a WhatsApp call with somebody, send them an email. Dear Akpake Josephat, further to our conversation yesterday, where you said I should buy a... Hello? Olawale Rukayat.
Yes, I heard.
Oh, no, I was using your name as an example. Akpake Josephat.
No,
I was using...
I was not the one
Okay, no
talking,
problem,
but I
sir.
have a question.
Okay, yeah, what's the question, Olawale Rukayat?
So my question is that this list of compliance that you mentioned,
Yes.
does it have to be in the, we have different type of business registration category.
Yes.
Does it apply to all the business registers? We have business name, corporate and all of that. Does this compliance apply to all the level of registration? One. Secondly, when we are opening accounts, we have savings current. Some of us even have corporate commercial account. So now, if, it's transactional, it's business, we have receipts and all of that. Are you saying that if, let's say 50 million, 70 million enters a corporate commercial account, it can be queried? That is my question. Those are my two questions.
Okay, thank you, Rukayat, for your question. Number one, these regulatory compliance issues I mentioned there, it doesn't apply to all the companies, but it applies to most of them. Like annual returns now does not apply to business name. There's a kind of return a business name files, but the ones I'm referring to here is for limited company. Most of them here are for limited companies, but the SCUMU registration, VAT applies to everyone, So, but they are not general, but most of them apply. Then your second question that if 70 million enters your account, that can the EFCC, can they ask? Yes, because the point is that your banks have a duty to report. There's a threshold of funds. Every account has a graph of how much comes into it. There's a particular amount that once the money goes above that amount, the bank is under a duty to report to EFCC. So above a particular threshold, they will always report. So if somebody just pays 80 million into your account, they will report it. And if they see it as a suspicious transaction, they can invite you. But if in your transaction history, they've seen that the kind of business you do, you are a big business that for the past 5 years, you are always getting 80 million every two weeks. Even if you receive 90 million, it won't be suspicious anymore because they've profiled you and they know what you do, they know who you are, and they know you're a legitimate business. But if they've not really profiled you or they are not sure, and let me tell you, that my client that was invited, they are a big company. They are in their sector in Nigeria, they are one of the top 5 in their sector in Nigeria. I don't want to mention the sector because if I mention the sector, it's easy to know who they are. They are a big company and they are respectable people doing big business. Almost everybody knows them in Nigeria and all that. But notwithstanding that, the reason why they came to them was because the person who transferred the money was the one EFCC is investigating. So what usually causes the problem is that the person who wants to pay money into your account, you don't know that person's intention. You might have a good intention, but where money is coming from, you don't know the problem. I also have another case I'm doing against a Nigerian bank. I even won them at the High Court. They blocked my client's account, $700,000. They now said part of the money was one money FBI was chasing, and the money came to my own client's account. Meanwhile, it was the staff of the bank that sold the money to my client because my client is a bureau de change. So we are saying that how can your staff sell money to us and we gave them Naira After we gave them naira, you now blocked our account. Meanwhile, when you said where the dollars was coming from, we took you to the person that got the dollars. You arrested the person. The person has started paying you back the money, and you blocked our own account without getting any order from the court. We won them at the High Court. They have appealed to the Court of Appeal now. And by the grace of God, we will win them there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So where the money is coming from might be suspicious. Even you too, when you pay money, you have to be careful of who you pay money to. Because if they are investigating, imagine now Hush Puppy that is in jail in America now. Imagine that you have been transferring money to Hush Puppy has been transferring money to you. You think if you enter America, you think they will not profile you? Or you think in Nigeria, they will not be profiling you already? So you must be very careful. So even if he has been paying money into your account, if I can show that I'm a hospital, I give Hush Puppy injection regularly because he takes vaccination every 2 weeks. And that's why he pays money into my account. Even if they invite me in America, I will go there with my file. I will open it to them and show it to them that this is it. I have a hospital in Nigeria. I give him injection every 2 weeks. That's why he pays to us. And this is the date he makes the payment. And it tallies. So we must not take it serious. We must not take it with levity. It's very important because money laundering thrives in Nigeria. So you must protect yourself against money laundering. So I don't know if I answered your question very well. Then, of course, we have the value-added tax, we have the remittances and all those things, you know. Now, the next part is intellectual property for startups. You know, why I decided to put intellectual property in this slide is that most businesses in Nigeria will take intellectual property for granted. Today, when we say Coca-Cola is one of the biggest companies in the world, it's not because they own 100 properties or they have assets worth $20 million or $100 million and all that. The majority of their assets is in their intellectual property, in their brand, the name Coca-Cola. If you see it anywhere, what it commands. So as a business, there are some businesses that are worth $20 billion, but half of that business is their intellectual property. Once your intellectual property is gone, your reputation is gone, you can say the business is also gone. So as a business owner, from day one, you must start protecting your intellectual property. You must protect your business. You must protect the name of your company. You must protect your reputation. You must trademark your products. If you have a product you are selling, you must trademark it because when people see your product is moving, they will imitate your product. They will copy your product. And if care is not taken, the fake product will sell more than the original product. And we have seen cases around the world. In the UK, there was a particular drug that came out and somebody did a spin-off of that drug, and the spin-off even became more popular than the real drug. So we must take intellectual property very serious, and I'll shed more light on it. Under intellectual property, we have copyright and trademark. What is copyright? Copyright covers your literary, musical, artistic, or audio work. When you take your pictures, you write your music, you write your code, all those things are copyright. You have a podcast, you know, they are all copyrights, you know. And copyright is wide. It extends to software, source code. And for an idea to be protected, it must be fixed in a perceivable medium, either in writing, audio, or video. This simply means that you can't copyright an idea you have in your mind. It must be documented, either audio, video, and writing, and it must be time-stamped. You can't just say, this is my idea. I wrote it on a piece of paper that is under my bed that nobody has seen. You didn't send it by email to anybody. You didn't record it digitally. So how am I sure you didn't write it today? And you said you wrote it 5 years ago. So because I wrote something similar online now, I've copied your article, I've copied your music idea. No, you have to justify how that music idea is yours. Did you send it by email to the producer? Did you share it with me? Did you share the proposal with me? You know, those are the ideas that we need to learn. So that's what it means by it must be documented. And copyright lasts for the lifetime of the author and 70 years after the author's death. And when you have copyright first vest in the creator of the work. So what this simply means is that if you tell somebody to do something for you, have an agreement saying that I hired you to do this thing for me. So all the rights in this product belongs to me. So you get, excuse me, let me just take it. So you get someone to design a website for you or design something for you, and you didn't have an agreement saying it's a work for hire or that I engage you for this. and he says that because he works in your company, he's your employee, he will say that he's the owner of the website, and he will not give you the login details for the back end. You know, so you need to have all those sort of things. Or when you call him later, he tells you that, come and give me money before I can do this thing for you. We once did a case. We represented the client, though I was on that side. So, and what I did was good, although I'll tell you now, some of you might think it was not good, but I'll tell you it was good. My client was an advertising person, consultant. He was working for this very big company. They had a project that they were going to launch on television. And my client was the one that was managing their media, Instagram, digital media, and all those things. And they were owing him money. They didn't want to pay him money. And the show was going to launch on TV maybe in like 2 months. And we shut down all the platforms. We changed all the, my client changed all the passwords to all the digital platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everything. And they had been making noise about this show that was about to start. And we held them by the jugular. They were forced to settle with us. They were thinking that we're going to take them to court. So they wanted to change the password. So by the time they made an attempt to change one password without talking to my client, it got an alert. So immediately it changed all the password. And when they were asking us for the password, we said, nope, we ain't giving you no password. You pay us all the money you are owing us. We documented it. And if you don't pay us, you can go to court against us. So we turned the tables against them. But assuming the agreement the company had with my client says that under no circumstances must the password be changed. Under no circumstances must XYZ be done. Even if they are owing my clients won't be able to take over their account. So, or you are a company, you went to go and hire one small girl in secondary school, a young boy in secondary school or university to be managing your Instagram page for you, and you give them your password. And one day you said you'll be giving him recharge card allowance. You didn't give him. He now changes the password and he blocks your phone. What are you going to do? And you have 70,000 or 700,000 followers that you've accumulated within 2 years. So you must be circumspect. You must have agreement protecting your intellectual property. Very important. But a lot of Nigerians take it for granted. Then we have trademark. What is a trademark? Trademark is a distinct sign or expression which differentiates a business or service from others in the market. My favorite example that I like to use is the Coca-Cola bottle. I'm sure we all know what Coca-Cola bottle looks like. The bottle has several trademarks, and I'll tell you what they are. Number one, the shape of the bottle. The shape of Coca-Cola bottle. That's a trademark on its own, because no other company can do a bottle of a drink like that. Number two, the way you wrote Coca-Cola, that signature, the red, the way Coca-Cola is written, that it looks red. Nobody can write any drink like that using their fonts and the color of their fonts, just like that. That's another one. Then the formula of the drink, the liquid, that's another intellectual property right that is there. But in the bottle itself, the trademark, the trademark you have the logo, the name Coca-Cola is a trademark. The way the name is written is a trademark. Then the bottle. So those are 3 trademarks. And a trademark lasts for 7 years. Then you renew it for 14 years after. And if you want to register a trademark, we have something called the NICE International Classification List. It has 45 items in the list. So there's a category for technology, for food, for services, for this, for that. So if you want to register, you don't have to register in the 45 classes. If you are a fashion business, you go under the category of fashion. But if you register your trademark under fashion, let's say you register smokeless bricks under fashion, and I see that is a popular name, I can go and register it as a petrol station. Like one day, about maybe 10 years ago, no, is it 10 years ago? Yeah, about 10 years ago, I was traveling to Shaki in Oyo State for a matter. And on the road, I saw one primary school, Facebook Nursery and Primary School. And I had a good laugh. I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg, in his wildest imagination, will not expect that somebody in Nigeria, in Shaki, Oyo State, will go and use Facebook as the name of a primary school. But of course, Mark Zuckerberg will not have any issue because he doesn't have time coming to Shaki. So if you're a popular brand, but a company like Dangote, MTN, they will register in the old 45 classes. Apple, because they don't want anybody to use that name for anything. It's their name. They will do anything to protect the name. So if you know you also believe in your name, when you register your name as a company, go and register your website. If your name is Chimi Deube Oji, and you believe that you are going to become a great person in Nigeria or across the world, like Michelle Obama, like Donald Trump, like Barack Obama, like Vladimir Putin, then you must go and register your website. I have a personal website, faroukabas.com. I've had it for over 5 years now. You know, because we've had stories of celebrities who were unable to register their website because somebody else has gone to register their website. And I'll mention a case here. I'll mention a case here. 2 cases here, so that you guys can know about it. Register your name as a website. Even if you're not going to do anything there, just pay for the domain name. How much is the domain name on GoDaddy.com? Maybe $30 or $40 or upper link or something, or .ng or something. You never can tell. If anybody is looking for a business or they want to do something and they Google your name, instead of saying TikTok and Facebook, let them be able to go to your website and see who you are. Even if it's a one-page website, let them just see what your business is all about. I'm not even talking about your business website. Oh. Of course, I have a business website, but personal website for your own personal branding is important because that's intellectual property as well. There's a case I'm currently working on. We are representing one of the biggest traveling agency in Nigeria, and somebody sued us for 1.5 billion naira. And one of his claims in court, as a matter of fact, they filed an injunction that the court should stop our clients from using their website. And that website is a cash cow website for my clients because they sell their tickets on that website. And when my clients saw that paper from court, and they got one of the biggest law firms in Nigeria, they were panicking. And we told them, no, don't panic. We're going to fight it out. This does not make any sense. Why will you file a case against the company to stop using a name? You have not concluded the case, but you want the court to stop them from using their website now. So when they stop using their website, have you not killed the company? So we made our arguments in court. It was a very ferocious and very tough argument. And the court agreed with us that there's no need for them to stop the website. But we are still in court. And it's an intellectual property issue. Our client is using a particular name. And that guy said it was the one that owns that name. And I registered the website on that name. But let me now tell you what he did. Our clients, when they launched the name several years ago, they paid advertising companies. So they were on DSTV, they were everywhere. So we had evidence that we have been using it. But this guy registered the website, the name on the website before our client. He registered the name, maybe he registered one name using something. And which we now have another name, but we added something to our own. So he's trying to fight us. And we are telling him that you are a gold digger. But he's saying no. But we are still in court. And I also cited another case here, Konga Online Shipping Limited versus Rocket. Konga and Jumia, they wanted to do, Konga went to approach Jumia in Nigeria. They wanted to collaborate and all those things, but they could not work together, whatever, you know. Then Jumia went to Seychelles and registered Konga.sc. So when Konga wanted to go to Seychelles to go and register, they saw that Jumia had registered them. And Jumia now registered Konga.sc to be selling something else. And Konga went to court against Jumia, went to the WIPO, Intellectual Property Dispute Resolution Center. And Konga lost the case. You know, so if they registered that name before, they wouldn't have lost that case. So register your business, register your website, otherwise somebody else will register it and you will pay the person to sell it to you. Another one I want to talk about is data protection for startups. Another reason why I brought in data protection is because a lot of Nigerians, data protection is a new area in Nigeria. We are just talking about it. Most of us don't even know what it means. Everybody's just behaving anyhow. You see somebody, they can just screenshot something and say, oh, look at this person. Somebody just sent me a message. Look at what they said about me. They said, I'm so this, I'm that. Oh, I'm so happy. And when you screenshot it and put it on Instagram, you put the person's name and his phone number there. And people start harassing the person. So data protection, we have to be very careful with the way we use data. I did a case recently where we work for a ride-hailing company in Nigeria, and somebody took a ride. When she took the ride, she and the driver had an issue. The driver now shared a photograph and a phone number on a WhatsApp group for drivers, saying that this woman, you people beware of this woman, or she's working with kidnappers, because she will lure you, and when she lures you and you get to somewhere, they will kidnap you. So all the drivers in that city, it's not in Lagos, I won't mention the name of the city, they started calling the woman, "You are a bastard, we are going to kill you, we are going to this, we are going to that," without knowing that the woman was a journalist. The woman now went to the police. Police arrested the driver, about 7 drivers that were threatening her. Then she now sued all of them and now sued the ride-hailing company. That's how we got involved in the case and was claiming several millions of naira. But we defended the case and said, no, we are not responsible. And we gave our reasons. And the court said, yes, we are not responsible. But the court awarded a fine, significant fine, against the drivers. And the police have also charged the drivers to court for threat to life and harassment. So the way we use people's data is very important. If you abuse somebody's data and they sue you to court, you can run into trouble. I also have several cases that we're working on data protection where the rights of our clients were abused, but I don't want to go into them because we've spent 1 hour already, and I don't plan to spend more than 1 hour, 15 or 20 minutes on this presentation. So these are the legislations governing data protection in Nigeria. We have Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023. We have the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation 2019. About 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, the Nigerian Data Protection Commission, NDPC, they issued a general application and implementation directive called the GAID 2025. It's a new regulation and is to cover some new areas, technology, using people's data, the vulnerable people's data. So startups have to be very careful. Startups must go and study this general application and implementation directive 2025 so that you know how to use somebody's data. Don't go and misuse data. So what does data protection mean? And what does complying with the law mean under data protection? It simply means that businesses that collect or control customer or user data must comply with data protection obligations. You collect somebody's data. Control the customer's data. Don't just use it anyhow. Because if you use it anyhow, you'll be liable. And only collect data that is needed to reduce the risk of liability. Somebody wants to come and buy Zobo in your shop, or buy biscuit or chocolate or ice cream on your app, and you're asking them for their NIN number or their BVN. What does that have to do with Zobo they want to buy, or they want to buy chicken? Are they asking for money? Do they want to transfer money? So you don't need to be asking, or what's your mother's maiden name? Somebody wants to come for your wedding. You are doing virtual registration to have a virtual gift center. You're not asking them, put your house address here. What do you need the house address for? You are inviting them for a party. Why are you asking them for the house address? What do you need it for? You don't need it. It's not your business. So only ask for information that is relevant. And if you're going to ask for an information that is not relevant, tell the customer, "Ma, we're asking for your house address because every Christmas Day and New Year, we always send RAM to all our customers. And we see you as one of our good customers and want to send RAM to you." Then they say they don't want it, then you don't collect their address. Also ensure that you have their consent to process their data. A deputy governor or somebody came to your store to come and have lunch, and you were recording them when they were having lunch, and you didn't tell them. Then they left. You now put it on Instagram. Guess who came to eat in our store today? Seyi Tinubu. We are moving. We move on to the next one. Like, did he tell you to record him? But if Seyi Tinubu comes to eat in your store, or Peter Obi comes to eat in your store, and you recorded them, let them know. Sir, I started this business 6 months ago. I'm happy that you're coming to eat in our store. It shows that you believe in our business. You believe in the growth of small businesses. Will you be fine? Will you be okay with you if I recorded you and shared you on my Instagram? I hope you don't mind, sir. It's going to be there for those 2 days, or it'll be on my stories. After 24 hours, there's no recording of it anymore. Can I do that, sir? Oh, thank you. Great. Go ahead. Ask for consent. Because I have a case that I did that an interior decorator came to do my client's house. And when they did up my client's house, they took pictures and they asked for my client's consent that they want to use some of the pictures. And my client said, okay, use the pictures in the living room. Use picture in the living room. You can use it on Instagram. Some days later, my client saw videos of their bedroom, videos of other places in the house, and she told them, take it out. You only said you wanted to use pictures of my living room. And I said, go ahead. Why must you be showing video of my bedroom? Video all over my house. You want to expose me? I don't like it. And the lady refused to take it out. And we went to court. But of course, when we got to court at the High Court, for the best reasons best known to the judge said because she gave her consent for photograph and that she didn't suffer any loss. So there's no big deal if the person also posted video. But like I said earlier in the beginning of this presentation, data protection is a new area in Nigeria. So the level of knowledge is not as much as it should be. It's a developing area. So it's understandable if we don't have, and that the judgment I'm talking about is maybe I got judgment maybe 5 years ago or 4 years ago. We're one of the earliest people who started going to court on these issues. But I wanted to appeal against that judgment. My client said, no, that we shouldn't worry, that we should just let it go. And the rule of professional conduct is that if your client does not want to pursue a case, as a lawyer, you must not use your money to pursue the case. So because my client was not willing to go ahead with the appeal, I dropped the case. But I am confident that if I had appealed that case, we would have won the case. Because one of the fundamental principles in data protection law is that consent is paramount. If I give you, and I'll show you a case where the Federal High Court complied with this principle. But so many people don't understand what consent means. If I give you consent to kiss me, pardon my choice of words, it doesn't mean I've given you consent to have sex with me. If I give you consent to hug me, it doesn't mean I've given you consent to put your hand on my breast. So consent is limited. If I give you consent to deliver rice in my house, you can now use my address. You now come and start dropping flyer in my house every Monday because you know that I like rice. No. So if I give you consent to only post picture of my living room on your Instagram page, you can't say because I said you should post picture of my living room on your Instagram page, you will now go and do a video of my living room or a video of my bedroom and now post it on Instagram, on YouTube, on Snapchat, on Tinder, on X, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on which other software, what's that, Donald Trump, on all those social media companies. It's not going to be done. Yeah, what is a Pinterest? Exactly, interest. It's not going to be done. It's not right. So if you want to use somebody's data for those things, write it to them. Kindly note that we are going to use your picture on our Instagram, on our YouTube, on our X, on our LinkedIn, on our Facebook, and any other social media platform. And please note that photographs include video, recording. Draft it in a very nice way so that you can protect yourself and give customers adequate privacy notice stating what you want to do with your data. If somebody calls me for anything, I will say, is it okay if I save your number? I ask them, because if I save your number and you have saved my number, it means you can see my WhatsApp status. So you are invading on my privacy. So if I save your own number, you can save my number if you don't believe in the rules. I mean, I won't know you have saved my own number. So if I didn't know you have saved my number, but I saved your number just for my own purpose, and you start seeing my WhatsApp status, I'm like, who told you to save my number? I asked for your own consent, but can you say it because I asked, because you told me to save your number, which I must save your number, so there are different rules. So let them know, give notice, and conduct regular protection audits. The laws I've talked about, if you collect people's data, there are some regulatory compliances you must have. There are some audits you must do. You can't say somebody's hacked your system. They will ask you, do you have security? What system do you use? Do you have people coming to analyze it? And seek legal advice regularly. Don't just go on AI, on ChatGPT, on Copilot to go and download something and just start doing anyhow. Don't do all those things. Consult your legal representative so that you don't run into problem, because people will sue you these days. And I'll tell you a case that happened this year so that you understand that what I'm talking about is not African magic. In the case of Chukwunweke Araka versus eCart Services Limited and Eat and Go. eCart is Jumia. Eat and Go is Domino's Pizza. This person, Chukwunweke, he sued Eat and Go and Jumia, and he sued them for several millions of naira. He said he usually orders for pizza on Jumia Foods before Jumia Foods went into extinction. So Jumia Foods will now send his data to Domino's, and they will be delivering pizza to him. So after he bought the food, pizza, he will now start receiving messages, unsolicited messages regularly from Domino's. He now sent an email to Jumia and said, Jumia, why are you using my data to be sending me adverts? I only came to your platform to buy pizza. I don't want adverts. Please delete my name from your record. And Jumia said they've noted it. And Jumia told Domino Pizza, this customer has complained. Why are you using their data? Kindly delete it. But Domino's Pizza did not stop. So when he now sued them, Domino's Pizza now said, when Jumia wrote to them that it should stop using their data, they deleted it and they stopped using it. But that after Jumia Foods left Nigeria, the customer now started ordering for pizza again on Glovo app. So when they got his data from Glovo, they now started sending him advert again. So that was their own defense. And the court said, what you are saying doesn't make any sense. The guy went on Glovo to come and order for pizza from you. Did he order for adverts? They now said because the advert has an opt-out. Their app has an opt-out. That if you want to opt out, it could have opted out freely. And the court said, no, he didn't opt in. So you can't tell him to opt out. You can only opt out. Opt out is only relevant if the person voluntarily opted in. So what this simply means is that because somebody came to patronize your store does not mean every time you'll not be sending them messages. Sir, we have new things in stock. We have new something. No, don't send to them. You are embarrassing them. But if you ask for that, when they come and buy from you, you can say, do you be okay if we send you regular updates when we have good stock? When we have new stock? If they say yes, you can send it to them. So the court awarded 3 million naira against Domino's Pizza, but the court held that Jumia was not liable because when the customer wrote to Jumia, because as a customer, you have a right under the law to ask the person who collected your data to delete your data. So that's that about that. Money laundering, we've talked about that. If you have any business with anybody, you must make efforts to know who they are. Don't just be doing business on WhatsApp call and they say, who is this person that paid 20 million into your account? I don't know their house. I don't know their full name. Is Sexy Babe. That's her name on WhatsApp. And I only talk to her on WhatsApp. I only see her on Instagram. I don't know her real name. I don't know her office address. And she paid 20 million into your account. They will say you are a money launderer. So if you are doing business with somebody, always make sure you know who they are. Always make sure you keep records of your transactions with them. If somebody is chatting with you, their email address is sexybabe72@yahoo.com. And when they are signing, they will say Debbie. They won't put their full name. You don't know anything about them. And the person is sending dollars to you, sending goods to you. My brother and sister, they might be sending you to jail very soon if care is not taken. So know your KYC, know who they are, ask them for their details, ask them for their account number, ask them if you are doing a transaction with Agro, the Next Innovation Pack, and they now say you should transfer money to the Next Renovation Center, not Innovation Pack, you must ask question immediately and say, you said I'm registering with the Next Innovation Pack, but now you are saying I should pay money to the Next Renovation Center. What's happening here? Can you please shed more light on this? Can you show me the relationship between the Next Innovation Pack and the Next Renovation Center? Because if you pay money to the Next Renovation Center, the Next Innovation Pack can come back to collect the money from you because the name of the two companies are different. So you must be vigilant, you must be observant, and you must be willing to ask questions. So thank you very much for listening. I'm so sorry I couldn't look at the chat box. They were distracting me. I know some people have raised their hands. So we can go to the questions now. I can't even see. Let me stop sharing my screen so that I can see. I can't see the screen anymore to know those who have raised their hands. 1 second. So, okay, please, if you have any question, just unmute yourself and fire on. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Good
morning.
afternoon, sir.
Good
Thank you
afternoon.
so much. Like, the class was really educating. But I want to ask a question concerning the copyright thing that for startups like small businesses that are still growing. When I hear copyright trying to like um you know um when I hear copyright, it sounds like something quite expensive for a startup. So, what's the process like? I just want to like have an insight on that.
Okay, no, so copyright is very straightforward. It's not as yeah, it might sound a bit complicated, but it's not as complicated as it sounds. So we have a recent law that was passed, I think 2 years ago or last year, on copyright, and you can copyright. So we did one for a client recently. We worked for one of the leading manufacturing companies in Nigeria. I can mention those ones. I can mention their names because I mean they sell products. So we work for Nexus inverters, Nexus television, electronics, and all that. And you know, they do adverts. They have all these publications they do, like they have characters. So you can have a character and those characters can be copyrighted. So if I have a character like on Apple now, you know, Apple has Siri. Apple has Siri. So everybody knows that Siri is Apple's AI. You can't now go and create a character in your cartoon and call it Siri or something else, call it Siri, because Apple will have copyrighted their Siri trademark and copyrighted it. So as a character, so let's say I have a cartoon character, Superman character. So they have their own characters for their products that they're advertising. So we copyrighted it to show that we have this idea, a picture, and we registered it. So there's a process for registering it. Nigerian Copyright Commission, there's a way to do it. You register and they'll give you a certificate. So once you do that, nobody can use it anymore. If you are a perfume maker, I don't know the business you do. Let's say you are a perfume maker. Now, I love perfumes. I'm a perfume lover. You have perfume and you have a perfume called Amber Chromatic. That's the name of your perfume. And you started selling it and it's very nice. Then somebody else now went to go and set up air freshener and now use Amber Chromatic air fresheners. You know, it can't work. Or you have a photograph. You have taken a pictures or videos. Like this guy that I work with, and what's his name? Buhari, President Buhari, Omobori Owo is photographer. He has a catalog of photographs. You copyright your photographs. Or you have a song. You wrote a song. You copyright it, you register it. So it just means your idea. So as a startup, maybe you have a source code or you have an idea or an app. You can copyright the code or the way you came up with it. So nobody will now come and use it, or a story or a writing. So there's a procedure for registering. So it's a different procedure entirely. It's something that we can discuss offline if the need arises. But it's just about protecting your idea. You have a website. You know, there are different things that can be copyrighted. Photographs, digital, writing, books, articles, characters, animation. A lot of people are going into animation. If you have animation and you don't copyright your character, you're going to run into trouble. Look at this guy. There's this guy called Gary Vaynerchuk on social media, very popular advertising guy. And he has a cartoon character, a company called V Friends. And he has different characters. They're all copyrighted, you know. So all of us watch Simba, Lion King. These are copyrighted characters. Otherwise, another person will start using them. Thank you very much. Next question, please.
Hello, good morning, sir. Yeah, my name is Ubok. I run a bag manufacturing company. And my question, a bag. We produce bags, so backpacks, school bags, laptop bags, yes.
Excellent.
So we are transitioning more into large scale production and moving away from just single units. And I have recently had a small issue that made me have to think two times. So usually when people ask me to produce custom made bags for them, we just have this oral conversation over Instagram or on WhatsApp, and then we produce and we take pictures to credit the fact that, oh, we manufactured this. However, we most times credit the person who gives us the image or the idea, and they take that glory, but we manufacture it. And then this was my first experience. I think that was 2 weeks ago. Somebody gave me a non-disclosure agreement to sign. And when I went through it, I felt this was really selfish because I couldn't tell whether they really owned the image, because she said she designed it. My question now is on consent, because you talked about consent, and how do I prove that consent? Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, so brilliant. I can hear you, Ubok.
Yes. So how do I prove that consent was really given if it is not written? Because when it is written, it's very obvious. But somebody who over the phone, if I ask, oh, can I post this image of the bags we have produced? And it was just a conversation over the phone. And it's because you gave an example of someone who gave a consent to the what was it called? To the person who could take pictures of the parlor, but not of the room. And that seemed like an oral conversation. What if the person, the client says, oh, she gave me consent, was oral? How do I prove and vindicate myself from that kind of situation if it's not documented?
Thank you very much, Ubok. I like what you said. Sounds very interesting, and I like the fact that you make school bags for children, because I'm very passionate about education, especially for young children. So I would like to have a relationship with you in terms of discussion for business, and see if it's something that we can afford. Because I was thinking of buying school bag. I'm going to turn 40 later in the year, so I was thinking of what I can do for a primary school in my hometown and all that. So it's something, a conversation I'd like to have with you. So if you can just send me a request on LinkedIn.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, and let's talk about that.
Thank you, sir.
So to answer your question, when it comes to, and my request is open to everyone. I'm on LinkedIn, Farouk Abbas. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So feel free to follow me or send me a request. I'll be happy to connect with you. So that's that about that. The second one.
Sir, can you please drop your LinkedIn profile? The link, so that we can just go there right away.
It's just Farouk Abbas.
The link. Just help us drop the link.
Okay, I'll share with you. So to answer your question, yeah, no problem. To answer your question, when it comes to proof of anything in court, is usually either through documents or through orally, and the best form of proof is documents. But if you don't have documents, then oral. But the danger with oral is that is your word against mine. If you say that somebody gave you consent orally, and the person said they didn't give you consent orally, then how does it, how would the court know who is telling lies, who is saying the truth? Unless there are now some extra factors that will corroborate your side of the story. That's when the court will agree. So essentially, is what all these tech companies or mobile companies do and everything is that when you come to them, they just have a box and say, click here. Once you tick here, you admit that you have read all our terms and conditions and all those things. So when they say click here, by accepting to download this app, you agree to our terms and whatever, you have given your consent. But if you can't do that, when you have conversation, write to them and say, thank you. Further to our conversation, you gave your consent. The next step for us to do is X, Y, Z. So normally my business style when I want to work, I don't like people calling me on WhatsApp. I don't even like chatting on WhatsApp. But there are some clients that that's the only mode of communication. And I keep telling them, WhatsApp is not a working tool for me. It might be a working tool for some other people, but for me, it's a distraction. I only like to read it when I'm less busy or I'm tired. So send me an email or call me. Let's schedule a meeting, virtual meeting. Because if you talk to me on WhatsApp, you can ramble and say also, I don't have any record of what you have said. But if you send me an email or we have a virtual meeting, I know on my calendar on this day we had this discussion. And I know that after our meeting, there will be a follow-up conversation by email. So I can document it. So it's for my own safety and for my peace of mind, because I'm a professional. I don't want anybody coming to say, I told you to do this and you did not do the right thing, you did the wrong thing and all that. So, and I tell my people in the office, I look out to protect myself. So you might say what somebody sent to you, the NDA is selfish, but they are protecting themselves. So if they send you an NDA that you think is selfish, you to forward the NDA to your own lawyers. Your own lawyer will review it in a manner that will protect your interest. I don't review documents or prepare documents in a selfish manner. Yes, I'll protect my client's interest, but I also always try to be fair to the other party. I always try to be balanced, because I believe that apart from giving judgments or giving account to my clients, I'm also accountable to God. So I must be able to justify myself and say, I've tried my best to be fair, even though I don't know if my best is good enough. So if they give consent orally, then document it. Because you are doing it, it might look like it's extra work, or you need to employ someone to do it or whatever. But it's better for you to have a process, because you are protecting yourself. People, and one thing about human beings that we don't always like to admit is that we forget more than we are willing to admit. The average human beings forget something so much, and I test it a lot. Somebody will tell you something this morning. By the time you talk to them tomorrow, they'll be saying something else. Some of them, they've even forgotten that they've told you this thing. So I see it happen. So if somebody calls me and rambles on the phone and say everything, I'll say, okay, sir, I've listened, I've heard you, sir. Do you know what you have said, sir? Go and send me an email. If they are serious, they write the email. If they don't send me that email, that's the end of that conversation. Because I'm like, you just called me. Do you know where I am? So send me an email or come to my office. When you come to my office, one of my colleagues will sit down in the meeting with me. So after the meeting, they will take notes and they will give a summary of the meeting. So we must professionalize our business. We can't be doing anyhowness or inflexibility or flexibility or saying because of social media, we now make everything WhatsApp. No. So create that structure, because when it comes to proving that they gave you consent, trust me, if the person says she didn't give you consent, it might be difficult for you to prove that she gave you consent. But if you, after the call or the chat, you say, thank you very much, you are giving your consent, and these are the next steps we are going to do. Number one, we'll do this, we'll produce the bag. Number two, we'll share the picture. Number three, we'll do this. Kindly confirm you're okay with this so that we can start to produce. And she will say, thank you. Some people, you can even say, we look forward to seeing your response within the next 7 hours. If we don't receive your response within 7 hours, we will assume that you have given us your consent. So that way, you know, you have to protect yourself, because some people are out there to bring any business down or to make money. Some people are just looking for ideas. How can I make money? Yahoo boys. But this one are now advanced Yahoo boys. They will use the brain to come and do Yahoo against other people. So Ubok, I don't know if I've clarified your question. Anu Mercy. Ubok, can you confirm that you are good with my response?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Yes, sir.
Okay. I've shared my profile on the box, so you guys can click on it and share
Okay,
me.
sir.
Anu Mercy.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this insightful session today. Yeah, one of the best so far. So, and I've learned a lot. So my quick question is about this consent of a thing. So where you mentioned that someone actually sued, is it Jumia now? Jumia Foods. So, and I myself, I do get a lot of emails that I never remembered opting in for any of these emails, and you know, they keep spamming my inbox, keep sending a lot of adverts. I know those ones that I subscribe to, and I know some that I never even heard about their names, and they keep sending emails. A lot of times I unsubscribe. I get some new ones again, I think from the UK, or a lot of times. So is it possible for me to also sue them for, you know, privacy invasion, or I don't know what it may be called?
Okay,
That's
so you
my
know,
question.
thank you very much. So you know, recently, I don't know if you guys heard, there was FCCPC, the Federal Competition Consumer Protection Council in Nigeria. I'm not sure if I pronounce it very well, but FCCPC, they sued, they levied a fine of $250 million or so against Meta, Facebook, and WhatsApp. And part of the reason why they gave that fine on them was that they said they were sharing information. They were misusing Nigerians' data. So what you have is that some people sell Nigerians' data. So you might find that, look at this case I mentioned to you now. The guy went on Jumia, but Jumia now gave his data to Domino's. If Domino's wanted to be unscrupulous, Domino's can share the data with Cold Stone Ice Cream. Then Cold Stone Ice Cream will now share it with Ice Cream Berry. Ice Cream Berry will now share it with Chicken Republic. Chicken Republic will now share it with Glovo, you know. So they will be sharing. So if you say you want to start suing, you will find out that by the time you sue the person sending you email, that person might be the weakest link in the person might have actually even bought your data from somebody. You know, so what you can do is that send them an email. Can you please, I don't recall ever subscribing to this. I would appreciate if you can unsubscribe me from this. Then if they continue harassing you, then you cannot take an action against them. But also remember that to take an action against a company involves money, and you have to pay your lawyers. And I'm not sure anybody, right-thinking lawyer, should do any case in court for less than 1.5 at the Federal High Court or High Court for less than 1.5 million naira, given the expenses and the time involved. And that's a very reasonable and basic amount. you know, unless the person wants to do a pro bono. There are a lot of pro bono lawyers. I'm a commercial lawyer, so that's the answer. But number one, send them an email. Then if they continue, then you can take it up. Omoge Oloshe.
Sorry, thank you so much for the answer. So it's possible they've been sharing an email. So, but if they persist, and peradventure we send an email to them, and it still persists, so we can go on to sue them, or can we also engage you as a professional in a situation like this if we are ready to sue?
Of course, but you know, I mentioned earlier, I'm a commercial lawyer. I'm not a pro bono. I'm not a human rights activist, and I'm not a pro bono.
All right, so I will start with them. I will start to like maybe 3 billion with some of those guys. We'll sue them. So, we need money to run business.
Okay, then you have to have money to pay lawyers. So you say in America, is an industry. There are even people that finance litigation in America. Good cases. But not they will finance in Nigeria, they will finance in America.
God will provide money. If we win, I will in fact, this year, I will sue like 3 of them. 5 billion.
Okay, Omoge Olose, your question, please.
Okay, good morning. Good afternoon, sorry.
Good afternoon.
My question is a bit more of trademark, and I was supposed to ask that question during the trademark session, but I couldn't. So the thing is, I registered a trademark in 2023. Is it 2023? Yeah, 2023. So when I wanted to register those trademark, they said I couldn't use those generic name. Then another time, I tried 10 times, different names were getting responses like, no, you have to make it this and that. Okay, finally, we arrive at a name. We registered the trademark. Then to use it for what I wanted to use it for, I started the process, right? So at the time I went to Lagos, so when I got to Lagos, I just went into a supermarket to just check around for those products. By the way, I manufacture cleaning products. So I went to the store to just say, okay, let me see if there are new products in the market and all of that, just, you know. So I got into the supermarket and I realized that exact name I recently registered, this is just like after 1 month of registering that name and getting the, what is it called? There's this certification that they give. I've forgotten the name. So I saw that same name, the way it is written is just the way I write my own too. And then I was just dumbfounded because I can't imagine what would happen or the kind of situation that I am going to find myself in. So I had to call the lawyer that did it, and I was just getting excuses like it's not their fault. The fault is from the trademark registry, yada yada yada. I was like, you people told me you are going to do the what is it called? Search, the name search. You did name search. I gave you like 10 different names. You were rejecting it. The one you private collected and asked me to submit, I realized that it has been registered. The product in question is even a product that is already selling in Lagos. It means they've done their NAFDAC registration and it is not even a new product. So how come you can't find that on the trademark website or wherever people are searching it? Long story short, the name at the moment, I don't know. Although I've registered another name with trademark. I've registered another name because I have to just ditch it because I don't want anybody to just come at me and just slam me lawsuit because I am using their name, of which I do not even know that there's any name like that. So is there anything I can actually do in that situation, or I just have to let go of the name and just go ahead and register? Although I have registered that name, I've registered 2 different names with trademark.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like it's an interesting question. Those issues like that arise once in a while. You know, number one, you have to confirm that the company that you saw their name, have they been registered at the trademark? Because you might be okay. You said that they will have been registered with NAFDAC as well for them to be on the shelf in the supermarket. So
yes.
So yeah, I mean the coincidence is quite strange, especially since in the same sector. So are you sure it's not impossible that maybe you had seen the product before and you're not even sure you've seen the product before? Because for you to come up with the same name in the same sector, or maybe both of you were being generic. So in being generic, you just tweak something to be able to escape being generic. You know, so at times when you want to come up with names, you have to make sure that you go so deep that if you go very basic, somebody else will have used the name. So you have to go deep in, like if you hear Apple for computer, who would in the wildest imagination imagine that Apple will be a computer?
It's not even a generic name like that, because then I said I submitted like 10 different names. So I started changing the words to another language entirely. So that was how I came about.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. So changing to another language is basic. So if you are in a sector, so the way you are saying, when it comes to choosing name, and that's another thing we need to get right in Nigeria. When it comes, we're going to end this session by 1 o'clock because I've gone beyond my time already. When it comes to choosing names is not something you just choose on your own, just like that. If you are thinking of going like a global business, if it's just a small local business, yes, you can. They are experts, they are brand consultants. Even some big companies like Ford Motors and all these top companies, they've made mistakes in the past. That when they chose a name for their product in a particular country, when they went to another country, that name means something negative. So when you want to choose your name, you should go deep in your creativity. But if you are thinking of converting one name to another language, trust me, if you have 10 ideas, somebody somewhere in this same state, Lagos State, has 9 of your 10 ideas, or even the same 10 ideas. But what makes the difference between all of us is action. Anybody can think of anything. We all watch the same things. We all go to the same places. And what you think about is what you consume. So you can't think about anything you are not consuming. So if you are on Instagram, you are on Twitter, you are going to club, you are going to one party, you are on social media, you are in Lagos, the possibility that all of you will come up with the same thing is almost 70%. What now makes your own difference is if you now go deeper, converting word to language or some generic something to, like a lawyer now. If you don't know I'm a lawyer, if you look at my writings, you can suspect that this guy might be a lawyer. So from you now, I know that if I analyze you deeply, I can suspect that you just converted one word or do this one and somebody else did the same thing too. So you go deeply or look for something that is not related, because what branding actually means is that you take something that is not related to your product, then you push it out. Then you now gain notoriety. So that notoriety is your sweat that makes it notorious. But when people want to use word that is similar to their sector or similar to the product or industry, somebody somewhere is. So that trademark is now forced to act. Who now registers it first now gets the advantage of using that name. So if you go and check the trademark registry, go and check who registered first. Was it you or the lady? Since you are a new product, it's likely that it's that other person that registered first. So even if the trademark registry is at fault for registering the two of you, you will still have to strike out your own name and go and get another name. Because even if you survive a trademark registry, you will not survive in NAFDAC, because NAFDAC will note that they've given somebody bearing the same name this product. So let's be more creative or engage professionals. Then if you now engage a professional, that professional now chooses a name that somebody else has chosen, then that will now be negligence on the part of the professional. Because if you say you are a brand expert and you come up with names for people, then it means that in that field, you should be sure that nobody is using that name. And you will charge top dollar to be able to come up with good names, So we have to be more creative. A name is not something you just come up and say 10 names just like that. A lot of research. If you know the process of choosing names for businesses, some companies take months, even years, to agree on names for products, for services, because a lot of analysis goes into it. A lot of research goes into it. So thank you. Are we taking Augusta Okafor?
No, sir. Good
Okay,
morning,
Augusta.
sir.
Good morning, madam. Yeah.
So I have a question. This question, I'm not going to say whether it happened real life or but I will just give an illustration. Please, when you talk of board of directors, how do you know the exact, are they mandated to have percentage equity on your startup or your business? And if they are mandated to have, how do you know the exact equity to give out? And also, what if there is a situation where someone came to you and said, oh, they want to be the board of director in your company, and the person is also advising you that they may have to onboard extra 4 or let's say 3 other persons to be the board of directors, and these people are asking for each person to take the like 12% equity. This is a rough estimate, but around that 12% equity each as part of your company. Do you also see this as a red flag? I want to understand how this works. Thank you, sir.
If there's anything more than red flag, I would say yes, it's a red flag. Number one, you can put anybody on your board of directors without giving them shares. There's no requirement that says that a director must have shares in a company, but shareholders are the ones who determines who the directors are. So if you own shares in a company, you can determine to appoint somebody else. So let's assume I own shares in your company. Myself and you are partners. We own 50% shares on the company. And we say in our agreement that each of us will provide 2 directors. The company will have 4 directors. Each of us will provide 2 directors. In that case, I can provide somebody else that does not have shares in the company and myself. So you can bring in somebody, but the person won't have shares. But the point is that, so regarding somebody saying that you are bringing in somebody to your company, is now saying he wants to bring in 3 other people to the company, you have to be very careful. There are people who take over people's companies. Some people just want to come and hijack. When they see that you are sweating, you are doing the job, they've seen the dream, they've seen the idea, and they see what you are doing, but they know they cannot overpower you. They will go and bring their own teammates, and eventually they will push you out of the company. Look at Steve Jobs. He was pushed out of Apple. If you read the biographies of so many successful businessmen, they push them out of the company when people dilute shares or you have board issues and all that. So even though I advised you to bring in board members, people who are wise and all that, you must be careful. Don't bring in people that will come and steal your vision, people that will come and push you out, or people that will bring in people that will come and start antagonizing you or start being toxic on your board. So that's why a lot of people like to use their wife. They don't want any problem, because you can bring in somebody and the person will start saying no. But at the same time, you need those checks and balances to put you on your toes. But be careful. So if you are bringing them in, don't give them shares. Be the one controlling them. And also have other people that you can use to sack them. So if I'm going to bring in, so if I were to give you, I'll just give you this free advice. I shouldn't be giving, I don't like giving free advice regularly. I like giving once in a while. So let's say you have a board of company directors now. You have 3 directors in your company. Number 1, make sure that 2 of you, the second person is someone that will your ride or die. Anything you say, they follow. I'm just giving you off the book, it is not official advice. So then you cannot go and look for one professor or a scholar or an expert in the field and now appoint him as a 3rd person. In that situation, that person cannot take over your company because you are 3 directors. But the person's views will always guide you guys aright. If you're spending money anyhow or misbehaving, the person will tell you this is not how it's supposed to be done. Let's have board meeting. Let's have this. Let's have that. Let's have this. They will put you in check. But if you now say you have a company, only you now go and bring Professor Patutomi. You now go and bring another professor somewhere. I'm not saying anything, no, but by the time they start analyzing and start giving you ideas, you might not be able to prove, you might not be able to move forward because their standard will be so high and the way they will be asking you, eventually you will just shut down. So you want people that will grow with you, that will push you, that will not give too much drama. So be careful. So don't take my advice. But if somebody is not saying that as a director, if somebody says they want to have equity in your business, I don't like to hear unless they are bringing in value, either money or competence. But even at that, it must be valued. Because when they have equity in your business, they can be a pain in the ass. If you have 90% and the person has 10%, if you die tomorrow, before your children apply for letter of administration, that 10% will be the one signing the check of the company, will be the one taking all the money in the company. So you have to be careful. So there are so many things involved. I will not say more than that for now. So we have just 10 minutes more. Okay, I think we've taken all the questions. Yeah, okay, Akpaka. Yeah.
No, I still have a question.
Sir,
Okay.
please, I want to ask with regards to the copyright. I think I had 3, but I think I've forgotten 2. Let me start with the copyright. So for things like music, photograph and all that, you mentioned that you can obtain copyright for them. Please, like in Nigeria here, what are the processes for that? Like if you want to obtain copyright. And then secondly, with regards to the shares, for instance, now my business is an SME business, it's a sole proprietorship business. And I'm hoping that someday I could maybe upgrade it to become a holding company because I do many other side business I want to incorporate into it. Now, what are the processes involved for that as well?
Okay, I don't present involved for what? I didn't get the second question. Hello? I didn't get the second question, but let me, the first question regarding, you are breaking. So the first question regarding process for registering copyrights for music and all those things. I mean, that's not the purpose of this call. That's something you have to engage separately for. I've given the information that is relevant for the purpose of this call that you can copyright those materials. So the process has a difference in entirely. Okay, any other question?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it was a nice session. So I have a question concerning one of the compliance obligation, and that's the VAT, the VAT. So presently, I don't charge VAT on the I own a recycling company, so and I don't charge VAT on the materials I produce. So I don't know if that would be a problem in the future, so that in a case that okay, maybe the FIRS will now start coming or something like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me make a clarification. Number one, I'm not a tax consultant, but I think you should charge tax because that's very wrong. Every company should always charge tax. I know a lot of Nigerians don't like to pay VAT. When you charge them, they won't pay and all that. But you have to find a way to charge it and bill for it because tax, we're about to pass the tax bill and tax is going digital now. They're coming for everyone. It's just a matter of time. So the earlier we start charging VAT and remitting and filing your annual returns, your monthly returns. You're supposed to be filing your returns for VAT every month. So everybody should, even if you're a small business, it's something you need to do.
Yeah.
So, but you can talk to a consultant. I'm not a tax consultant. Mine is just that you should file, you should charge tax and you should pay taxes, your VAT, remit your VAT, because you are collecting on behalf of government and you are remitting it back to them. So, but you can always talk to a consultant. I'm not an expert in that field. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other question?
Okay, let me just ask these two questions, but they are going to be brief. Now, when you talk of people having business worth, when they come and say the way they are saying that Elon Musk is lost over 100 million this thing because of the ongoing issues with US and government policy, stuff like that. Please, does that automatically translate that if a company is worth over 100 million, that the person or the owner of the person, can a company worth such high and still be broke? I don't know if the question.
Come again with your question. I didn't understand your question. Can you start with your question again?
Can a company worth very high and still the founders of the business are kind of broke?
Where did that happen? Why are you saying somebody is broke? Can you give me an example of where that has happened?
I don't have okay, like when people come and say, oh, that their copyright is worth so amount of money, XYZ, this thing, when you put when they put the valuation in their company and they say that it's worth a lot of money, and you find out that the owner of the company or the people managing it inside when you
I got you. Don't worry. You confused me when you mentioned Elon Musk. So I couldn't, you just threw me off guard. I'm like, are you for what are you trying to say? Like Elon Musk is not broke, so I didn't understand what you're saying. But of course, when it comes to brand valuation, because some people don't believe it, because of the question you asked, some people don't believe in brand valuation because they say people just overbloat the value of your brand. And it's a very valid question. How can you say your brand is worth 1 billion naira and you don't even have 50 million naira to spend? So some people can be living in that, and a lot of founders live in that bubble, in that fool's paradise. When you have it like they are emotionally attached to their company. My company is worth 20 billion naira. Our pre-seed valuation is $20 billion. Because people just call unnecessary value because they want to collect money from investors. Yes, I'm not saying your sweat is not worth so many things, but you have to be reasonable. If you are saying your value is 500 million, the question I will ask you is, what was your revenue last year? How many staff do you have? What was your profit? What was your income? What was your level of growth? By the time you tell me your valuation and I ask you a certain question, I will show you you're working that you're a liar, you're telling lies. So when I tell you Coca-Cola, their valuation is in their brand. It's because if you are sleeping, you are drinking Coca-Cola. If they say give you soft drink, what do you want? The first thing that comes to your mind is Coca-Cola. If I see Coca-Cola or Fanta, I will choose Coca-Cola first. So Coca-Cola has invested so much in their brand that almost all of us in the world, we are all Coca-Cola fans, even if we don't drink Coca-Cola. So that's an example of a brand. David Beckham is a brand. If you hear David Beckham somewhere, you follow David Beckham. If you hear Elon Musk, you turn right. If you hear Donald Trump, you turn left. So there are some names that when you hear them, you comport yourself. If you see Apple, you comport yourself. So that's the level of a brand. I like Apple. All my products are Apple products, electronic products. I use 2 phones. They are both iPhones. I like Apple. I also like perfumes. There are some brands that if I see their name on any perfume, Mason Crevelli, I will buy it no matter what the name is. I don't want to know what it smells like because I respect the brand. So if a Nigerian one business somewhere is not telling you that his business is worth 700 million, say I'm not arguing with you. Show me you're working. What was your Let me tell you a story. There's a company that wanted to get investors. and they gave their company a high valuation. Do you know what the question the investor asked them? How much did you pay as taxes last year? By the time they saw how much they paid, they said, for you to have paid this small money as taxes, it means that you are not worth what you say you are worth. For this reason, you are not an ethical business. We cannot do business with you. Because if you are worth this amount, your taxes to government. So there are a lot of ways to show workings. If you say your business is worth this thing, I will ask you 5 questions. I'll say this one does it, this one a hustler. They don't know what they are saying. So I've answered your question, Madam Augusta.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Farouk.
Yeah, Farouk is fine, don't worry.
All right, thank you very much, Farouk. And I'm sure everybody here have taken note of 1 or 2 things, and we really appreciate your knowledge sharing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure spending time with you guys. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I've sent my link here, and I'll be happy to discuss further with you. Please, yeah, tag you in our post. Of course, feel free to tag me. Somebody's asking, can we tag you in our post? Please tag me, Farouk Abbas, anywhere. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. So nice talking to you guys. Thank you for SIA Foundation and the Nest for putting this together. It's always good to share knowledge with people, especially young Nigerian businesses. And I wish you guys all the best in your business endeavor. We see a lot of Nigerians complain the country is bad, they want to relocate, complaining online. But to see young people seeking to set up business, nice ideas is encouraging. And I wish you guys all the best. If there's any way we can support, feel free to reach out to us at any point in time. I'll be happy to collaborate and discuss with you. Thank you, Tim Dayo. I'm glad you guys
all right, thank you.
I almost thought I was talking to myself. Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
And you too.
Yeah. So you guys tag me, write your post. Yeah, tag me on LinkedIn. I'll look forward to seeing your post. Take care.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Bye.
Ma, please, the attendance.
The attendance is on the chat box. Please check for it. I have sent there more than 3 to 4 times.
Ma, the network has been logging me out like consistently, so I cannot.
Okay, I just sent it now.
Okay, thank you, ma.
All right, thank you. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day.